Big Blue Crew, I got a question. With the trade of Baker Mayfield, and there have been some Giants fans that said that the Giants should have traded for Baker Mayfield to get rid of Daniel Jones. I got a question. Will Daniel Jones get the last laugh over Baker Mayfield when it comes to the end of their careers? Let's just say the end of this year. Will DJ get the last laugh after Baker Mayfield, after being traded to the Carolina Panthers to go against Sam Darnold? Tune in, and I'll tell you why he will. Welcome to Big Pat Sports Talk. Alright, what's going on, Big Blue Crew? YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms. Welcome to another episode of Big Pat Sports Talk. And today we're going to be talking about, will Daniel Jones get the last laugh on Baker Mayfield after being traded to the Carolina Panthers after the Cleveland Browns basically got rid of him for Deshaun Watson, who they don't even know if he'll be able to play this season or in future seasons. Shout out to Joe, because he said it. He said Deshaun Watson may get up to 2 seasons. You don't know. I thought he was crazy, but the way talks are going, they want Deshaun Watson banned or suspended for at least 1 season, and they want him suspended indefinitely after more allegations have came out. So they traded you for a man that they don't even know that will play within the next 1 to 2 years. So what does that say about Baker Mayfield? As you guys know, about 2 to 3 years ago, Baker Mayfield came out and said some things about Daniel Jones, saying about the Giants when they drafted him, saying that some certain things. And while we're at it, let's get into those things that he said about Daniel Jones, and let's continue further.
He says, I cannot believe the Giants took quarterback Daniel Jones. Blows my mind. Some people overthink it. That's where people go wrong. They forget you got to win. Okay, either you have a history of winning and being that guy for your team, or you don't. So he's saying Daniel Jones didn't win in college. He was 17 and 19. And the Giants took a big risk on drafting Daniel Jones, according to Baker Mayfield. So let me start with this.
So, as you heard, he said the Giants took a huge risk drafting Daniel Jones at number 6. And it's quoted on the screen. I cannot believe the Giants took Daniel Jones. Blows my mind. Some people overthink it. That's where people go wrong. They forget you've got to win. And I'm one of the guys that say that these comments by him actually, I'm not going to say it started the firestorm on Daniel Jones, but it really confirmed it. This really gave a reason for the media and Giants fans to destroy Daniel Jones. It really did. And it's been going like this since these comments and everything they've said about Daniel Jones. This little guy right here, he was very cocky at the time. He was very arrogant at the time. You got to think that this is the same guy that went into the office that got out Hugh Jackson, and Hugh Jackson was the one that gave him his start. And, you know, they brought in Freddie Kitchens after that. And this guy's always had a very good roster around him. He's a 2-time walk-on. He's a walk-on at Texas Tech, and then he walked on at Oklahoma. And we're going to listen to Colin to see exactly what he thought about these comments when Baker Mayfield made these comments. So let's get back into it.
Did the Cleveland Browns not take a risk drafting a guy with a police video in college? a 5'11.5" two-time walk-on? Yes, Baker Mayfield won in college. That's because everybody wins at Oklahoma. Jason White on 2 bad knees won the Heisman. Josh Heupel won at Oklahoma. I think he won a national title. So you can argue that Cleveland took a big risk with Baker Mayfield. I got a police video. He comes from a program where every quarterback wins. They've had multiple guys in the NFL drafted that have been busts at quarterback. I would say this about Baker, though. Baker's made it very easy for me to evaluate him, because what Baker is saying is there's no context to winning. Did you win, period? By the way, Tim Tebow was 35-6 in college. Colt McCoy was 45-8. Kellen Moore was 50-3. And A.J. McCarron was 36-4. You know who didn't win in college? Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff and Matt Ryan. They didn't win much in college. But again, Baker Mayfield said it's all about winning. There's no nuance needed, no context. I've said before, if Baker Mayfield succeeds in Cleveland, it will be more impressive than, let's say, Patrick Mahomes winning in Kansas City, because Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid. That's a stable team. That's good ownership. Cleveland, not stable, not great ownership. So winning in Cleveland, because I believe there's nuance and context to winning. But Baker Mayfield does not. It is.
So that's what Colin had to say about that whole situation. And I agree with him on that. I've said this a long time ago. Those Oklahoma quarterbacks, man, everybody wins over there at Oklahoma. I mean, you go all the way back to Josh Heupel. You go all the way back to Jason White. What's my man over there with the Cardinals? He won at Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts won at Oklahoma. Is Jalen Hurts a great passer? Is the jury not still out on him? Sam Bradford, he was a number 1 pick. Was he great? Hell, Baker Mayfield, number 1 pick. And according to him, if you don't win, you ain't worth nothing. So, hey, look, you got traded to the Panthers from a situation that was very good over there with Cleveland. Let's be real. OBJ his dad came out with a whole reel of you being a-hole towards him and not even throwing on the ball and missing him on purpose because of your arrogance, because of your childishness. But you wanted to say that about Daniel Jones, about not being a winner at Duke, which at Duke you cannot name one player that got drafted while Daniel Jones was there. You cannot name one player. Who was Daniel Jones playing with? Wasn't really too many people that he played with over there in Duke. But you played with a bunch of people over there at Oklahoma, and you had a nice whip over there at Oklahoma. And yes, you won. When you came to Cleveland, you won 1 year. I mean, you got a playoff win 1 year, but look at the roster that you had over there with Cleveland. Dude, you had it. Everything was made for you over there in Cleveland. But for some reason, you couldn't get it done. And reason why is because that you weren't that great. The same thing you bashed Daniel Jones about is the same issue you had over there with Cleveland, because you couldn't win with the roster that you had. As a matter of fact, let's go to the media room and look at that roster that you had compared to what Daniel Jones had, but you want to bash Daniel Jones. So let's take a look at the roster that he had, and this was in 2020 when he was talking noise. Okay, it was Baker Mayfield at quarterback. You had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, 2 very good running backs. Nick Chubb was coming into his own as one of the best running backs in the league, and Kareem Hunt was coming back, and he showed that he was still Kareem Hunt when he came back. Look at your receiving core. You had Juice Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones. All 4 of those guys were doing very good over there with the Browns. And guess what? Damian Radley, the 5th, 6th guy on the roster, he was actually starting for Daniel Jones. You guys remember Damian Radley? That played a couple of games for us because we had so many injuries at receiver. He was actually starting. So Daniel Jones is working with your sixth receiver as his starter. Look at the roster this man had. This man had two good tight ends, Austin Hooper and David Njoku. They drafted Jedrick Willis, who's turned out to be a very good tackle. Joe Bitonio, very good left guard. J.C. Treader, one of the best centers in the league at the time. Nick Harris, this was a guy that we were looking at to start for our team this year, and he was the backup. Wyatt Teller, because you traded the right guard to us when we did the Odell Beckham trade. Jack Conklin, one of the best right tackles in the league at the time. So you mean to tell me with all that talent around you, you only got one playoff game, and that was against a washed Big Ben? Which, in case they almost came back after we're getting dogged in the beginning of that game, they almost came back and won. So you mean to tell me that you couldn't get it done over there with the Cleveland Browns after all that stuff you was talking about? Oh, it's about winning. Well, if it's about winning, well, damn it, you weren't getting the job done. You didn't win too much over there. And guess what? Daniel Jones had a better rookie season than what you did. With a coach that was fired from your organization because he couldn't get it done there. Daniel Jones has been doing things with your scraps, basically. And guess what? His team still wanted him. His team didn't trade him for peanuts. I get it, Giants fans. Oh, he didn't get his fifth-year option. That's cool. That's business. But Brian Daboll wanted to work with him. Mike Kafka wanted to work with him. Because if they didn't, shit, Baker Mayfield might be a New York Giant right now. Or Tyrod Taylor would have been given the keys to start automatically. But you're going to sit there and talk about Daniel Jones like that, and you weren't even really on the radar like that when you was talking noise. You just had a great team around you. Look at that. Yeah, all these Pro Bowlers and stuff around you, and you still couldn't get the job done. But this is the quarterback that you guys want here in New York over Daniel Jones. Some Giants fans, I'm not saying all Giants fans, but some Giants fans want this dude here. Why? He couldn't even get the job done where he was at. With a way better roster. With a way better coaching staff. Better GM. Hell, might even have better owners at the time because John Mayer was on his bullshit at the time. But this guy's the guy talking about, oh, it just comes down to winning. Did you hear those quarterbacks that won in college but didn't do nothing in college? Did you hear those guys? You know how many winning quarterbacks in college go to the NFL and suck absolute huge balls? Jamarcus Russell, Tim Couch. The list goes on and on and on. I don't care what you do in college when it comes to winning losses. It's about the talent. And then it's about the organization that is around you. Question, do you think Daniel Jones would have did better with the #1 run game, 2 very good tight ends, 3 legit starting receivers, and a rookie backup receiver that's legitly the starter now? The #1 ranked offensive line at the time? And with the coach that built the program around him? I think he would have did well over there in Cleveland. I think he would have did better than what Baker Mayfield, at the very least the exact same. So I made this video to go like, what are you guys talking about with this Baker Mayfield? Oh man, if we get Baker Mayfield, we would be better. No, we wouldn't. We'd be a lot worse. Could you imagine Baker Mayfield behind the crap that Daniel Jones was behind? Could you imagine that? If he couldn't make it with the #1 running game, the #1 offensive line, a very good set of receivers, 2 very good tight ends, what makes you think that he will be good behind the worst offensive line? Oh, well, let me guess, the 31st offensive line. Evan Ingram as your tight end. Nobody else behind him. Joe Judge as his coach. All his receivers are injured. Saquon Barkley is injured. So you really expect him to be good and the whole situation is reversed and he couldn't do it with everything being good? Are you guys serious? Are you guys serious? I don't know. I don't know what Giants fans are thinking when they said this here, that they would rather have Baker Mayfield than Daniel Jones. This man Baker Mayfield went from the perfect situation to being ousted by Deshaun Watson, a guy that they don't even know will play within 1 to 2 years, and they sent him to Carolina where he's going to be battling another quarterback from that very same draft that everybody wanted to take one of them. Do you know that every last, like 3 of those top 5 quarterbacks are bust? Josh Rosen, my goodness. Baker Mayfield, gone. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on the same team, fighting for their careers now. Josh Allen, thank goodness Brian Daboll was over there in Buffalo and they brought Stephon Diggs over there because he was going in the same direction, whether you want to believe it or not. And Lamar Jackson went to the perfect situation over there with Baltimore because they built the system around Lamar Jackson, and that's what you're supposed to do as a coach. Shout out to John Harbaugh. Shout out to that organization. Shout out to that GM over there. They're very smart. So you Giants fans really should think about what you're talking about when you say things like this. That roster right there is worlds above the roster that Daniel Jones was working with in 2020. And then you went further. The roster just got better for the Cleveland Browns. So we'll see. Will Daniel Jones get the last laugh at Baker Mayfield in the end? Who knows? But I know right now that I think Daniel Jones is looking a lot better than Baker Mayfield because nobody wanted him. If he was that good, why didn't the coach get him to be the starter there to take him to the playoffs? Why didn't the Falcons trade for him? Why didn't the Washington football team go after him instead of Carson Wentz? Why all these teams that needed quarterbacks that wanted to trade for a quarterback didn't call Baker Mayfield? Why did Seattle, who traded Russell Wilson, said we'd rather go with the quarterback that we got from the Broncos than Baker Mayfield? Is it because that he's a bum? Maybe so. But we'll see. But thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that join button if you want to talk your talk with Big Pat Sports Talk. And go visit the Big Pat Sports shop and get your Big Pat Sports Talk merch. 15% off. Represent. Send me a picture so I could put you guys in the highlight reel of getting your Big Pat Sports Talk merch. I definitely, completely, and honored for the support that you guys have been giving me throughout this whole process. But these are the questions that I'm going to start asking. This is how I'm going to start bringing things to you guys here on Big Pat Sports Talk. I'm going to start bringing facts, and I'm going to start letting you guys see exactly what I'm talking about. But until the next episode, peace. This has been a Big Blue Crew production.